ahead now. All right, so welcome to our newest installment of our Cultivating Connections during the time of COVID web streams. Today we are joined with National Grange lecturer Christine Hamp from Spokane, Washington, and we are excited to hear a little bit about ways that we can deal with this stir craziness that's happening. So I think all of us really need to find things to do during this time. So like usual, thank you for joining. If you have comments or questions, please post them below, and I will make sure to interrupt Chris in some way, shape, or form, and we will try to keep this ball rolling a little bit. So, Chris.
Hello. And first of all, before we kind of delve into wherever this takes us for the next hour, I wanted to say thank you to the National Grange and to the National Grange staff for making these social media events happen. I've heard from many of you out there around the country that maybe aren't able to get on when they're live, but you're going back and you're checking them out later. And the comments that they're able to stay connected are meaningful, and we get it, and I can hopefully say that they're going to continue. I think there's plans for these to continue over the next several weeks. So again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching whenever it is that you do get a chance to watch, and hopefully there's some things here that that you can take and implement in your own granges and in your own home over the next several weeks and months, or however long this goes. The title is fun, and you'll notice my hair. This is what happens when your hairdresser's closed and you're left to your own devices. So who knows what it'll look like next week or next month, but for today, this is what you get. So the first thing that I kind of want to do to set the stage is we're going to talk about, first anyway, we're going to talk about some of the lectures programming at the national level that's already in place. And I want to do that by hopefully, Amanda has the technology going there to show you some screenshots from the National Grange website. So when you go to the home page of the National Grange website, you are able to see that home page, maybe. See, this is the technology piece. Up at the top, there is a link to where you can see, you can go to programming. And within that, there is the lectures programming piece. And inside that lectures programming piece, there is the opportunity, there we are, lectures programming. So on the left side there in each of those blue boxes, you can see the different things that are available. So everything that we're talking about today is available to copy and to download and to share with your Grange members and your friends electronically. So let's, for example, take the quilt block contest. At the very bottom there, if we click on the quilt block contest, it gives you the documents for the quilt block for 2020. And that document is both, one of them is the instructions, and the other document is the application or the entry form for you to send in your block. And I'm pleased to let you know that the quilt blocks are streaming into my mailbox. In fact, I got one yesterday from the state of Oregon. So I have gotten them from juniors. We have gotten them from, I just got one from an 85-year-old member in the state of Delaware. So from all across the country, the quilt blocks are coming in. there is the entry form, and the other one talks about the instructions for size and color. And I'm hoping that that's one of those projects that folks can work on if they have some extra time at home in the next couple of weeks, help a junior with, share those documents with your friends, your neighbors, your fellow Grange members, and let's see if we can break the record for quilt blocks this year and get over 500 of them submitted before October 31st, and then we'll have those on display back in Pennsylvania in November.
And we apologize for the delay in this. Everyone's internet is slow right now because we're all streaming everything. So hopefully when you go to the nationalgrange.org site, it is not this slow to load, but just bear with us as we're doing the technology.
Yeah, and the point of this is simply to show you and to remind you that every single one of these national contests and programs have the 2020 information up and loaded on our National Grange website. So thank you very much to Stephanie Wilkins for helping me get all of that information updated to 2020 and to have those documents there for all of us to get to. So in addition to the quilt block, the other item that folks can be working on in the days here are photographs. So pretty much every state Grange has a photo contest of one way, shape, or form. And every state then has the opportunity to send their best of show to the National Grange to be a part of the National Photography Showcase. So this would be a great time to be out and about, taking photos or going through the photos you've taken since last year to find your entries for your state contest. And this might be also an opportune time for the states to consider maybe an additional category with something to do with the COVID-19 issue, how folks are responding to that, something that's going on in your community that would illustrate how life has changed with this COVID-19. So that would be the photo showcase. And again, those documents for the national showcase are on the website as well. But the important part with this is that this contest is all about the states. So every state runs their own contest, has their own rules, which are important for within those states. So the size of the photograph, whether or not you can put it in a frame or put it behind glass, all of those rules are up to the state. The state simply chooses their best and sends it or brings it to National Grange to show their best of show. Amanda, do we have any questions yet?
We don't have questions, but we do have some comments. Robin Kinberg loves your hair, and Katie Squire was considering blue. So it's quite a statement. Bonnie Merritt from Oklahoma also loves your COVID hair.
All right.
We had Robin, who mentioned that she just made her first quilt block yesterday. So it sounds like
fabulous.
We're having fun. You're going to be getting some more soon. Can you talk about the choice issue? Like every year you've normally had just one block. You have to make the same block.
Right.
And this year you can make kind of whatever. So could you talk a little bit about that?
So I think it's kind of follows suit with Grange, and especially here in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, the need to be independent and not always be told exactly what you have to do and how you have to do it. And so with that spirit in mind, this year we added the choice as well as provided a block for those folks that maybe are just starting in quilting, have never made a block before, and wanted it to be easy, simple, give me what I need to do, and I can follow those directions. But then it also opens it up for those folks that have access to other patterns, that are more experienced in quilting and making blocks, that they can do, or they can try one that they've always wanted to try, and we'll see what we get. Some of my quilting experts that help me put these things together have said that some of the new what I want to call it, the new theme, or not theme, but what you're seeing a lot at the quilt shows are quilts that every block is different. So rather than what we've been doing the last several years where every block's the same, we have the opportunity this year to put together blocks with different patterns. I'll say, so far, every block I've received has been the shoe fly block. So far, those 2-3 dozen blocks that have come in are all following the shoe fly, and nobody's chosen the choice. But I would guess that over the next several months, we'll see some of both come in.
So if I sew a shoe fly and I sew something else, do I then have 2 entries, or do I still have to pick my best entry to be judged?
You still pick your best entry. So you only get 1 judged regardless of the pattern that you use. And then the rest of them will be submitted to be made into quilts like usual. But yes, you would still just pick your best block regardless of what that pattern might be.
Okay, and then can you talk a little bit about what happens with those blocks after convention?
Yeah, so a couple of things have happened, kind of like how the blocks are continually changing, and we're changing up the pattern, we're changing up the choice, we're changing up the colors. We did the same thing with what happens to the blocks after the fact this year. So for the first time, rather than the folks that are helping me out taking those blocks and making the quilts, and then we're shopping those quilts around the country for folks to purchase and use how they wish to at home. We did it different this year, and we gave my quilting group a year off, so to speak, and we bundled up those blocks that we made last year, the Quillisasket block, and we sold those. There ended up being, I think, 11 or 12 batches of 35 blocks, and we sent those out to folks that requested them. Those folks, whether it was an individual or a state or a family, each paid $100 to get that kit, and then it's up to them to make the quilt. So it's up to them to sew the top, to put in the batting, to get the backing, and to finish it off with a long arm. And then that's their quilt to do with whatever they wish to do. And so I know that Vonnie Merritt in Oklahoma is working on one for the state Grange of Oklahoma, and I don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to sell chances on that, or what they're going to do for a fundraiser, or if they're going to give it to another organization for a fundraiser. There's tons of opportunity and ideas out there for how you can make these quilts really, get some traction in your states, as far as turning that $100 investment into a much bigger fundraiser, or just a gesture of goodwill.
We had a suggestion, and then we have a question. So the suggestion was Granges who would take one of these quilts next year may want to donate a finished quilt to a hospital for a fundraiser, or some organization that's been dealing with the COVID crisis directly. So that's
absolutely, and that was a suggestion that we put out this year, that one of the ideas would be not just to use it for yourself as a fundraiser, but to donate that quilt to another organization to use as a fundraiser, and then like I said, that goodwill within your community just goes a few steps farther than within our own group. There's tickets being sold to non-Grangers and folks through the community to help out somebody else that's out there. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I have not heard back from any of those quilting groups or individuals. I've just seen pictures from the one in Oklahoma. That's the only one I've seen any evidence of so far that's in progress and things are moving forward. So I'll send out an email here in the next few weeks and see how everybody's doing and we'll be able to report on that later, maybe in the next edition of A Quarter's Worth. We'll keep track of how that's going.
What is a quarter's worth? And then I have another question about quilt block stuff.
Okay, so A Quarter's Worth is a new newsletter that the lecturers have put together, and we're sending out nationally. So the state lecturers are working with myself to create a newsletter with good current content, good ideas for programming, pro tips for programming. There's a spot where we can list resources, like a resource guide for websites that might provide great information. And that newsletter goes from the national lecture down to all the state lectures. And then each state lecture is tasked with distributing that to every Pomona and Community Grange lecture in their state. So whether they've put that together with an email group, hopefully that's the easiest way, or if some of their lecturers don't have email, I know that those state lectures are guaranteeing that they get it mailed out. But that is a resource that we wanted to get going and really try to reach the grassroots, that the ideas and the information flow down, because I am absolutely convinced that Grange is only as strong as our community Granges are. And we can do all we want at the national level and even at the state level. But until we can enable our community Granges to absolutely shine and to grow and to be those beacons in each of their communities, we're not reaching our full potential. And so that's the idea with A Quarter's Worth, is anybody in the country that has content that they think is something that should be shared around the country, you can get that information to me. We'll make sure it gets in the Quarter's Worth. So the next one's content is due May 1st. So if you've got something for that newsletter, get it to me by May 1st, and we'll see if we can get it into that Quarter's Worth newsletter. But it's also available if you missed the first one. The first one went out February 1st. If you missed the first one, it is also available on the national website. So, or let me know if you can't find it and I can email it to you.
And just a quick reminder, if you're submitting any of that stuff, Chris does have to vet those to make sure that we have permission to use things. So if you have copied something from a website without citing the source, or if you've downloaded, for example, a graphic, you have to make sure that it has permission if we're going to put it out through the system and make it a public thing. Sometimes fair use, be able to copy it, we can just attribute where it comes from, but other times we can't use it, and sometimes we have to make our own kind of versions of things. So it's really important to make sure that if you're sharing something that isn't yours, that you didn't make up off the top of your head, that you note where you may have gotten some of the information so we can make sure to track down and have everything go correctly.
Is there anybody out there that saw the February edition and has comments or anything to say about it? Were you able to use anything from it? You find it as something that's worth continuing? That's one of my number one things, is you're not going to see a contest or a program continue if we don't if we don't like it, if it's not seeming to help our local Granges. So let me know what you're thinking of a quarter's worth.
So we'll wait. Hopefully you guys have comments on that so that you can share those with Chris while we're here live. I want to back up for a second. Katie Squire, who's the California State Grange lecturer, is on with us, as well as about 40 other people. So we're really excited to have you all.
Right.
Katie has asked, so hand or machine applique for the blocks is acceptable as long as the finished size is 12.5 by 12.5 inches, correct?
Well, I guess we haven't ever thought about that. I don't know why not. I mean, as long as that block is the right size and it's using the colors that we asked, yeah, let's go for it. We'll incorporate it into a quilt. I don't know why not. I hate saying no. So with my quilt people maybe rolling their eyes, but I know Katie is an amazing quilter, so I look forward to getting a block. That'd be great.
I think that this is where you say things just got real, right?
Yeah, no, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'd hoped would happen, is that and I sent an email out last night to all the state lecturers, so I'm glad to see that made it out into the inboxes and that people were able to get on, hoping that if there's comments or suggestions that those folks who are at, closer to that grassroots can help us get there. I was thinking the other day about Granges and what we do in our communities, and especially at a time like today, like right now, what's going on, and how amazing it would be, and how much better off this country would be if we had a Grange in every single community across the country. And, think about that for a minute. Think about what your local Grange does. Think about what your local Grange maybe used to do. And maybe you're not doing some of those things anymore. And ask yourself why. Ask yourself, are some of those things something that we can adapt and do again? And how do we make ourselves stronger? How do we make sure that our Grange is important to our community, is known in our community, and adapt and do again? And how do we... Oops, Amanda, I can hear myself, which is really distracting. Sorry. There we go. So that's the piece that I'd like for folks to think about. And that's going to be my segue into the publicity item contest. Last year was the first year for that. We called it PR last year. This year we're calling it publicity. And the idea is that every single thing that your Grange does to promote your functions and your programs and your contests, that you can enter that in that publicity item contest. That is set up right now. If you've got something that you did in January or February, March is probably a little skimpy right now unless you enter your cancellation flyer, but you can enter those right now, and I would encourage you to do that, not to wait until October 31st and force me to have to sort through a couple of hundred of entries right before we're flying to Pennsylvania. Is if you've done something that you want to enter, go to the link on the National Grange site, go to that entry software that they've set up for it, and get that entered, get that item in and entered, and check it off your to-do list. I think you'll find that it's amazingly simple. You don't have to send an email. It's easy to attach your documents, and then that way it's done and over. And you can enter as many items as you wish for the publicity item contest. Remember, there's two different categories. There's the in-house category, which means that someone in your Grange is making those flyers or posters or whatever it might be, t-shirts, buttons, aprons, and the other category is professional. So you're using a professional to create the item that you're using for marketing and publicity, PR purposes. All right.
We have a few folks who have mentioned that they've seen the quarter's worth, including Ohio, which got positive feedback. And Elizabeth Heiner mentioned from Colorado that she's seen it and enjoyed it. We have a few other folks who are noting that they are either working on quilts for their 150th gala in Illinois, or that they're raffling their quilts in Oklahoma. And a few folks who have just noted that they are watching, they're ready to send in their blocks, they're participating in the contests you already have. So it sounds like our contests are going well. Are there any new things on the horizon?
The couple of the other things that I wanted to mention is, let's start with the Evening of Excellence at National. So this year it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to change from Friday night to Saturday night, and it's going to follow the celebration banquet on Saturday night. And so we're looking forward to that. It'll be in the same hotel facility as everything else, so we won't have to travel off site for it. And we'll just simply move from our dinner table into the auditorium for the Evening of Excellence. And so, one of the things is that those are just like the photography contest. Those are entries that are documented by each state as being their best of show entry, which means that the states then have to hold some sort of a contest or an event to pick their best of show. So hopefully everybody will have the opportunity in the next several months, whether that's in a summer event or at their state conventions, to have that talent show or talent contest and find the best of show that can make it to Pennsylvania in November. That's what makes that event great, is the folks from around the country representing their states and showing off some amazing talent. So that's just a little bit about how the Evening of Excellence might be just a touch different than it's been the last couple of years. What I don't expect to be any different is the high caliber of talent that'll be present that night. The other thing is we're still doing the National Grange Foundation Mercantile. So another thing that folks can keep themselves busy with over the next few weeks and months is making those high quality homemade items that they might want to donate to the Mercantile. So the Mercantile is an opportunity for Grangers to make items to sell to other Grangers, and then that happens at National Convention, and then folks can shop for Christmas or for that special gift to give to somebody back home. But there's everything from jewelry to quilts to hard things made out of wood, made out of rock, and so lots of opportunity. I don't think there's anything that you can make that folks won't take an opportunity to purchase and bring home with them. Just consider sizing and weight for those folks that might have to fly. But hopefully this year in Pennsylvania we'll have a lot of drivers, and so we can fill in the cracks and crannies in those back seats with items from the Mercantile. So there's another opportunity for you to keep yourself busy, and if you need ideas, let us know, and we can give you some ideas of things that have sold really well over the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the small fabric things like the fold koozies and stuff,
Right.
if you're already sewing right now, probably masks are your thing and you're not maybe looking forward to that. But if you're not a sewer, you can be making earrings or whatever. And so it's a great way to, just keeping yourself busy during this time. So,
Absolutely.
Jean had asked when Gene Zverick from Pennsylvania had asked when the quarter's worth was sent. And so I had replied to him to say that it was sent to state lecturers on February 15th, and then most had agreed to get it to their subordinate lecturers. And so if someone hasn't received it and they know that they're a lecturer or they know they've talked to their lecturer, what would you suggest their course of action be? And also TJ Milovsky from Minnesota asked if it could be sent to subordinate lecturers as well. So I figured I would let you.
Yeah, so the plan is that it went out the week before the Masters Conference was held in Maryland. And it was emailed that week to not only every state lecturer, but also to every state master as well. And the state lecturers had agreed that then they would get it down to the subordinate level, with the pomonas included. So if they had a contact for a pomona or a community lecturer, they were to get it down to that level. That I got it to the states got it out to their folks, realizing that there's always, the possibility of somebody falling through the cracks. It's available on the website, and then I can email it out as well. But that's where it's gone so far. It's just really hard to mail it because, we just don't have the resources to do that. But I would love to be able to email it to somebody in your Grange that can share that if the lecturer doesn't have email. It was only, I think it was 8 pages, so it's not huge, and you don't have to print it in color if you don't want to. So hopefully it's not an onerous thing to get that printed and out in folks' hands. We were trying to make it as simple as possible. All right.
Okay, we had a question from Gwen Swenson. I believe Gwen is also in Minnesota.
She is. Yeah. Hi, Gwen.
Will Best of Show be states in the region of the convention, or will it be any states that can provide material for Best of Show?
So I think Gwen's referring to the Best of Show in the showcase room at National Convention, which has happened for many years. One of the things that folks whispered in my ear after I became national lecturer was that the Best of Show was starting to not really be a Best of Show anymore, because the states, maybe their Best of Show was somebody's China teacup, or it was a large item. And so they weren't able to travel with it because it was too large, it was too heavy, or it was too delicate, and they didn't want to risk breaking it. So instead, the Best of Show at National Convention had become a collection of pillows and Afghans that you could, squish into your suitcase and then get there without damage. And so starting at the National Convention, my first national as lecturer in Spokane, we went to the concept of we were only going to take showcase items from the region that was hosting. And so we've done that the last 3 years. And my plan is to continue it that way. So this year in Pennsylvania, it would be the Eastern Region states and the Eastern Region states only that bring items for the showcase. And I believe that Jen Noss, who's the worthy lecturer in Pennsylvania, is coordinating the lectures in the Eastern region to bring that stuff together to figure out how many per state and to get that set up in the showcase. So I think that's been working fine. Again, comments and suggestions or anything to say that it's not working fine, I would would like to hear about. But I think that's the plan for the next 2 years, at least to make the cycle through all 5 regions, to be treated the same. And then if we want to reconsider, we can reconsider.
So we have one question that's on the Evening of Excellence. So we're backing up a little bit. TJ had asked what the procedure is for states that have no talent show or Evening of Excellence type elimination, where most states have some event where they're having people perform and they're choosing the best to send to Evening of Excellence. What do you do in the case of a state that does not have such an event or elimination?
So in my few years of doing the Evening of Excellence, I only know of one case where we had a state send a participant that did not go through a state level event. And that was, they completed the same paperwork, and the master and the lecturer signed off on that there was nobody else able or willing. And then the second part of that is to have some sort of a vetting that the talent meets with a best of show level talent. So, and like I said, I only have that one example. So I don't really have a set procedure, but I know that that's what they did, was they used the same paperwork, and the individual had gotten a hold of their state lecturer, and the state lecturer was familiar with that person's talent and said, yes, I would sign off for their representing my state, and the state master did the same.
So they would still require the lecturer from the state, the elected lecturer, and the elected state master to sign off, or what is needed?
Yeah, the form has the state lecturer being the one to say, yes, this is our best of show. And I think that still needs to happen, is that there needs to be a coordination with the state level to say yes, because I don't want to have it be my job to have to put on the striped shirt and the whistle between 2 people that would send in an application from the same state or something. So it does need to come through the state on that same paperwork.
Okay, and then I should just, I guess, say that folks in Nevada, which is the only state where we have a number of Granges without a state Grange at this point, can speak directly to you. I know that last year, actually, the Nevada folks went to California, competed, and won. So I don't know if that's what they're going to do all the time, but I do know that happened last year. So they should speak directly to you, correct? Just to keep you
yeah, we'll figure, and like I said, I don't want to keep anybody out of participating. So if it gets clunky, if it gets cumbersome, give me a call and we'll figure it out. But absolutely, let's make it happen rather than not make it happen. But yeah, unfortunately, the Nevada group was unable to get themselves to Minnesota last year. But they did. They went to the California State Convention, and they were the best of show. And maybe they can do that again this year and make it to Pennsylvania.
Okay. So just a few general positive comments about some of the stuff going on, but no questions at this point. So if you have anything else.
Yep. No, I'd like to talk about the Quilts of Valor for a couple of minutes. So the Quilts of Valor is another one of those blocks that you can click on the National Lectures Programming page. And there are several documents that are PDFs down below. Some of the most important of those documents are, how do I make a Quilt of Valor? There are some rules for quilts to be Quilts of Valor. There's a size limit, or not limit, but there's some guidelines on sizing. And there's also guidelines on the finished quilting. You can't submit a hand-quilted, hand-tied quilt as a Quilt of Valor. So those things are in those documents, which should help groups that maybe just getting started or want to make a Quilt of Valor. And then the other thing there is to let you know that we will have the Quilts of Valor presentation on Wednesday night at convention, like we have since the Spokane convention in 2017. So looking forward again to being able to present those quilts to those deserving veterans and active duty members of our military that might be in Pennsylvania in November and present on that Wednesday night. So this is a call out, like I usually do, for if you know of a veteran or an active duty military member that you can get to that Wednesday night program, please let me know. And if they have not already received a Quilt of Valor, that's a one-time thing. You only get one. Is let me know, and we'll add them to the list, and we'll make sure that we have enough quilts to get them all presented. But that's the main thing is to give us a little bit of a heads up so we can make sure that the number of quilts match the number of veterans and active duty folks. And then the special call out is we would love to make sure that we have a World War II vet present in November. We've been able to do that in Spokane and in Stowe, and last year in Bloomington. So hopefully we can find one in the Eastern region that is able to travel and be present Wednesday night, because I tell you that definitely brings the house down and doesn't leave a dry eye in the house. So anyway, that's still going to happen. All the information you need is on that website, and I look forward to seeing those programs that more and more community and state granges are doing around the country to link the Quilts of Valor Foundation and community service together in order to get veterans recognized like they should be. So I don't know if there are any questions on the Quilts of Valor. Again, that we will continue to do that, I guess, as long as we have the opportunity to use that time Wednesday evening, and there will be a new twist that we're working on for this year. So hopefully everybody will be able to be present, and if not, I think we'll plan on doing it live on Facebook like we've done in the past. Not Amanda, yep, right?
Sorry, yes, I was reading a question that came in for you on Quilt of Valor.
Okay, go for it.
Your question is, can Quilt of Valor recipients be from any state for the presentation at National? And that was from Diana Nordquist in Ohio.
Yes, they can. Last year in Minnesota, you'll remember, or maybe not, that there were a couple of recipients from the state of Montana, and that's been the case in Spokane. We recognized Brother Bill Booth from California. There's been folks, just to name a couple, that have been from states other than the one we were in. Although I should say Brother Booth is from the Western region, so that he was in that region. But yeah, absolutely. If they're going to be there Wednesday night, and we'll get them on the list and make the presentation. So there's no limit on the number. If we have them there and we have a quilt to give them, we're going to make it happen. So absolutely.
And so the Quilt of Valor recipient does or doesn't need to be a Grange member who receives it at convention.
We are asking that at National Convention for that presentation that they be Grange members. However, I'll back up and say for the presentations that you're having at your state conventions or in your local Grange halls within your community, that's a great opportunity to make it a community service event and to recognize anybody in your community, whether they're a Grange member or not. At this point, we're getting enough to where I would like to have it just be Grange members recognized at national session.
Okay. Carrie Blassingame said that they are in Prairie Grange, Illinois, actually doing exactly that. They're taking the Quilts of Valor for their members who couldn't be at session and making those and then going to get those out this year to them. So that's excellent. I know they're doing that with community folks as well. We had a question.
Yeah, and remember,
oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead. I was just going to say, remember too that the Quilts of Valor Foundation will assist you in any way you might need assistance. If you want to call, if you go to their website, the QOVF, Quilts of Valor Foundation.org, and you look up contact us, there's a coordinator for every state listed with an email address that you can reach out to, and you can say, hey, I'm in this city in this state, and our Grange would like to make a presentation. Can you help us do that? Because the Quilts of Valor Foundation, if you've ever been to one at National, you know that piece that's read up front, and the poignancy and the power of that piece be a part of those presentations. And so don't hesitate to reach out and collaborate with that other organization to make your event even better. So that would be my suggestion too, is to utilize those folks to help you. And that those presentations can happen in the home. I know when my dad got his Quilts of Valor, the Quilts of Valor Foundation folks, two ladies came to the house and presented him his quilt because he was not able to get out into the community and do a public event. So they, it's pretty powerful, and those quilts become absolutely something that those vets never forget.
I should also mention that if you have a quilt top that you've done and you have the backing and binding material, you can, and the batting, you can request a long armor through the Quilts of Valor Foundation. There are many long armors who have signed up to do these for free for veterans. You may know somebody in your community who does it. You may know somebody in our Grange who does it. I think actually one or two of our long arm folks in the Grange do those. So you may not have to pay to have that done. They do have that free service. I know that we've heard that some people have gone through that and some have paid to get that done, and either one is fine. Just as an FYI, if you're worried about the cost, let's try and use those resources to make sure that those veterans get their quilts.
So the other way that Granges can help the Quilts of Valor Foundation is open up your Grange Hall for sew days. There was one in our Grange Hall here at 5 Mile Prairie just a couple of weeks before we all kind of got shut down. But the local group had a sew day in our Grange Hall. And by providing that at no cost to them, it just stretches their dollars farther so they can buy more batting and more material to make more quilts rather than paying rent to use a place to sew. And so you can consider that. You can consider, having a fundraiser where you raise money to buy batting for them. And so there are, lots of different ways that we can get involved and help that organization in a collaborative approach. You have anything else coming in right now?
So there was a question about something that you had proposed and talked about, I think it's 2 years ago now, at National Session, which was basically a Grange Academy.
Yep.
And there's a question of, they love the idea and wanted to know if there's any more information about that. And I think that I will just say that one of the concerns right off the bat was the technology and whether or not that happens at National Session or there's things that can happen beforehand and how you get that content to people. And if COVID-19 has done nothing else, it has really made us embrace technology. So I think we're learning right now that we may be able to overcome some of the obstacles we thought we had. And frankly, different social media platforms like Facebook have evolved because we've now set up 2 of these forums, the Heritage Forum and the Legislative Forum, and they have modules that you can add to them that are actually learning modules, where you can say, I've put up a bunch of content, documents, PowerPoint, things like that, videos. And once you watch these, you can take a quiz, or you can just say, I've completed all of those. And we can actually do true kind of coursework. So just from my perspective, because I know as staff, that's something that we tend to try and assist with. I think we're answering some of the questions that we had that we just never really got around to, but I'll let you talk about the Academy.
Yeah, the Grange Academy is still near and dear to me and wanting to make it happen. And I guess this is in the world of Chris, if I had the magic wand and could wave it, the Academy would be the reason that folks go to National Grange Convention, that we finally get to a point where we realize that our National Grange Convention needs to be about more than the folks wearing the gold sashes, that it needs to be the place that every Grange member in the country strives to get to. So like I belong to the International Association of Arson Investigators, and their annual convention is the place to be if you're an arson investigator. The networking and the courses and the papers that are being presented are the top-notch, the best that you see anywhere. And that's what I want National Grange Convention to be, is I want it to be the place for networking and for courses and for people to present that make our organization stronger all the way from the grassroots up. And so that's the dream. I believe that we can get there, and I actually don't see how we cannot try to do this. It becomes a funding stream, which we know that is terribly important for us right now. It becomes a way to get folks and to build leadership capacity, which we need to see developed across our Granges. And it gives folks that have already been to National Grange and that may not be voting delegates any longer, they may not be officers any longer, they may not be youth ambassadors any longer, but they have the skill sets that we need to bring into the Academy, and it brings them back to convention for something to do. Right now, as a past delegate or a past ambassador, there's nothing for you to do at National Convention. It's not geared for that. And so again, this is Chris on her box, is we've got to get to the point where we want National Convention to be the gem and to have thousands of people in attendance, not just a few hundred. And to do that, you've got to make it the best they can get. You've got to have fantastic instruction. And I see the instruction set up kind of like at a college, where you'd have a 100 series and you'd have a 200 series and you'd have a graduate series, but you'd have different levels. So the first year I went, I could, take a class in 100, and then next year I would take the 200 level. And so, like I said, you're making it a reason for people to keep going because they want to graduate from those courses, and then that would be kind of a thing for future state masters and future national officers or whatever level, is you have the certificate that says you went and you completed this course or this these syllabus of courses. So it's kind of like I said, it's not gone from up here. It's still there. I know there's several of us around the country that keep chatting about it, and I'm just not, I don't see this year it happening, but I want to keep working on it, and I keep talking about it and how we can get that message out and work on building a list of instructors and potential classes. And then again, the part that you brought up is is maybe folks can't make it to Pennsylvania, but they could log in and be present via some medium like this, where they could be present and accounted for and get the same credit. So anyway, lots to think about, and definitely something that absolutely I believe with all my heart needs to happen is make national convention about our members and not just a select few that it's aimed at currently.
So just Vonnie Merritt out of Oklahoma said she loves the idea, and while it's dating her, she remembers when National Grange Convention used to have 1,000 to 1,500 participants, and 300 or 400 of those were youth. And so looking forward to hearing more about that. Just to back up on Quilts of Valor for a second, Katie Squire mentioned that Quilts of Valor is actually collecting quilt blocks as well. So beginning sewers can get involved, and 9-patch. And so if you're interested and you're a beginning sewer, I saw Samantha Wilkins recently just said that she bought a sewing machine yesterday. So she could be looking at the QOVF.org, Quilts of Valor Foundation, online to learn about that 9-patch.
Yeah, so for those folks that were in Minnesota, if you remember up in the showcase room, Naomi Fletcher and Jean had a booth up there where you could sew one of the 9-patch blocks. And so those blocks that she collected all went to the Quilts of Valor Foundation. And yeah, they are, I forget the number of how many they're trying to collect this year, but that information is on their site if you want to try a different block. The shoe fly is awfully close to a 9-patch. So, I'd rather have you make the shoe fly, I guess.
Different colors though, so shoe fly is
yeah, exactly. They probably don't want turquoise for their Quilts of Valor. Although I've seen them, they don't have color. It doesn't have to be red, white, and blue. You can custom make a Quilt of Valor to the interests of that recipient. I've seen one presented in Idaho that was, kind of a woodsy bears and fish kind of theme, because that's what that veteran, that was his love, was the outdoors and fishing and hunting. And so, yeah, you can absolutely customize those to that person. I wouldn't make a whole bunch of those, because then it's going to be hard if you don't have somebody in mind, because then it's hard to match them up. Just like if you use fabric that's focused on one branch of the service, it makes it more difficult to match it up, because some years we don't have somebody maybe from that branch of the service, so we carry it over. So just things to think about. But if you know the person in mind, and they absolutely are dyed in the wool Marines, and you want to use Marine themed fabric, then absolutely you can do that. All right, what else do you have? Anything else coming in?
Joan Smith just reminded everybody that the National Grange Foundation thanks everybody for helping with these presentations. And she said this week, while we're all hunkered down, we are in this together, and we should consider buying a Grange Foundation shirt that says the same. I put the website address for that shirt underneath, and sometime later this week we'll have Joan on to talk about that shirt and whatever.
Do you have that page I sent you with the 4 covers? Can I squeeze one more thing in?
Absolutely, I will get that ready, and give me a minute to get the screen shared with that.
Okay. So while she is bringing that up, and there's nothing like winging something on Amanda at the last second, but although I'm satisfied that she's got it handled, she's going to show you a shot of 4 different covers. And the Grange that I grew up in over on the west side was doing some cleaning, and they found these documents, these books in the cupboard, and my mom grabbed them for me, and they are an absolute hoot to go through. like Amanda talked about earlier, she is researching with the publishing companies if there are any issues with copyright. And if not, I'll see if we can't get them copied and make them available for folks. There's just a few things I wanted to share. The one, this is from the Better Yet Grange Lectures book, and there's a topics for discussion. And one of the things I thought it was something that you could do right now today in keeping your members engaged and keeping your community engaged is through your social media sites or through email if you don't want it public. You can put some discussion topics out for people to talk about. So this book is copyrighted in 1947, and some of the topics for discussion, they have a serious list and they have a humorous list, which I thought was kind of fun. And some of the topics for discussion, this is on the serious side, were, do rural marriages last longer than city marriages? Does farm life bring greater contentment than city life? What are ways that we can improve our Grange? So in 1947, which is when membership was still on the rise, remember it flattened out in 1955. So they were talking about what we could do to improve our Grange. And then, I mean, there's a whole list of things here, but I thought it was kind of fun to brainstorm some topics for discussion that you can have with your own membership or within your own community. On the humorous side, these are probably not ones that you're going to use, although it would be interesting to see what you got for what is the safest way to get a skunk out from under your bed. So that would be kind of an interesting, Dwayne's answer to that was to keep your door closed, but I'm it kind of brings up the time of 1947. And our party telephone's more useful to farmers than private lines. I still can remember our party line and trying to get grandma off of it so I could talk to a friend. But anyway, things to think about would be topics for discussion that you could share with your members. The other thing was, and we'll end this with a little bit of a quiz, where letters are equal to words. So we'll see who has the first answer here, Amanda. All right. So anybody out there, you need to reply to Amanda. And maybe we'll find a prize headed your way if you're the first one. So what letter is a vegetable?
So letters are equal to numbers, huh?
Letters are equal to words.
Oh, to words.
Letters are equal to words. So what letter is a vegetable? You have an answer yet?
I mean, I have my answer, but
Does anybody else have an answer? That's the easiest one. No answer?
Not yet. Let me see if on the other page.
All right, well, let's give them
Answers.
an idea.
Yep, we got one. TJ,
right.
He has answered, and I hope it's correctly, because otherwise we're both in a position here. That's P.
P is correct. All right. TJ, congrats. We'll get you a prize.
And Jen Moss was close behind, and Barb Narvel. We've got some people playing along now.
Okay, how about this one? What letter is a sheep?
I've got my answer. We'll wait for a couple others here. Bonnie Mitson texted me the answer. Everybody's watching. It's great.
That's awesome. What did we get?
We don't have the correct answer for what letter is a sheep yet.
How about this one? This is
Jen Noss, I believe, has the first correct one, and that is you.
You would be correct. Human organ.
Human organ.
A human organ should be an easy one.
Human organ. We're waiting. Nope. Bonnie is quick on this, but she's texting it. So
yeah,
we'll get the human organ here.
Did you get it right though?
Puts it in there. Oh, Jen Noss, fast on the keyboard here. I.
There you go. How about the last one, just to make it fun? An insect.
All right. Anybody for an insect? I forget that they're 10 seconds or 20 seconds behind us.
So I was just going to say, because people are
taking a long time for
a long time. Yeah.
It's not. I should just tell you that they wanted 20,000 of those 9-patch quilt blocks. Samantha Wilkins got the first, followed very closely by Barb Narvel for B.
B, correct. All right, so we're going to step it up a notch here. Now we're going for 2 letters.
Marie Nicholson just texted, and Bonnie, oh boy, I have texts and answers going everywhere.
Sweet. All right, so here's another one. I'm going to give you an example to start with, all right? So this is 2 letters. Condition of winter pavement. I-C.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's the example. So this would be to rot or to fall into ruin. 2 letters.
All right.
There
is a delay. You are right, Bonnie. And we're waiting for it.
2 letters that mean to rot or to fall into ruin.
I'm going to give him another 5 seconds before I say it. Joan Smith first, DK. Barb Narvel, I think, actually had it first. Unfortunately, I think her autocorrect really said, yep, she had it right. But
all right, one more just for the fun of it, right? This is what this is all about. And there's this book. So this book has a whole list of these, which you could, kind of do to warm people up for a program at some point. This one should be pretty simple. A word meaning not difficult. 2 letters.
Okay. Let's see how long this delay is, because that one should be easy for people to get. All right. Elliot Wilser has it really close, but I think his autocorrect got him. I think you better submit that again. Katie Squire has it with EZ.
Easy, that's it. All right.
Don't you hate autocorrect here? TJ ended up with an EZ, and I'm sure he meant EZ. Elliot ended up with an EC. Autocorrect just hates us.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got the idea. So those are some of the things in these books. That one is from the 1929, the Grange lecturer's assistant that came from the state lecture of the Vermont State Grange. So kind of some fun stuff that just came my way, and I wanted to share a little bit. And like I said, once we get the research done and see if we can share those, we'll work on getting those out just as another tool in the toolbox, or if there's something that you're, there's some great ideas for get acquainted activities and those sorts of things that maybe haven't been seen for a while, since the dates on these, nothing is earlier than the early or more current than the early 50s, for our regional and our state get-togethers that aren't just the same old thing we've been seeing for the last several years. So might be kind of fun to take some new ideas or to update some of these older ideas and make them work for us today, and make sure that we're just utilizing any resource we can get our hands on. So I think, and that's the main thing for today is to realize that there's lots of opportunities. There's lots of things that are set already, that are in place. And, for you out there that are lecturers, and it doesn't matter if you're community lectures or state lectures, to take this opportunity and to see if there might be some things that you can initiate for the first time around COVID-19, and to have some different categories or have some different parts in your conventions coming up or your contests that get folks to think about how things changed and what they were doing during this time. So I think, kind of like 9/11 and some of the security issues that are part of our daily lives and that we've just come to realize is the way it is. I think we're going to see a lot of changes come forth from what's happening in response to COVID-19, continue down the road much after this virus is out there, and that after we get it fixed. So we're going to see changes in how we work, the number of people that are working remotely. I think employers are going to see that can work, and it can work well. There's just tons of different things. How we buy food, how restaurants work. There's just a lot of opportunity for there to be changes in our daily lives, and it is a ripe opportunity for Grange to be that steadying force in the community and to look at what communities need. And I know Pete addressed this yesterday with what a lot of Granges are doing, and I didn't want to duplicate that. But really think about your Grange and how you can make a difference, how important it is that you are there. When you think that your Grange doesn't matter, give me a call and let's think about it again, because every Grange does matter. Every community has to have a Grange. We've got to be thinking that is not too big of a goal to achieve. Is think about how much better we would be right now if every community had a Grange. That's, I guess, what I'd like to close with. And if there's any more comments or suggestions out there, let's do those. And if you didn't get it in or you didn't want to do it via this vehicle, send me an email or give me a call or a text, and let's talk about how we make Grange better, how we make Grange stronger, and how we make sure that this time is not just time off, but that it's a time to kind of reboot and reset and rethink how we do things. Just don't slow down to where it's really hard to get the momentum back going. There's lots that we can do, and lots of positive things that we can be making sure that we're part of in our communities. What do you got, Amanda? Anything else?
Just a lot of positive comments, and I know that we're going to close here so that Oregon State Grange can jump on our Zoom and be able to continue a meeting that they started yesterday. We're all learning a lot out of this process. We're all learning how to use technology in different ways and figure out how to make sure that we're continuing good work of the Grange. So I know that I think that message is super powerful right now. If we can do something to help you do that, whether it be from ideas for what to do once your Grange gets back in order and open, to ways you can use technology, our platforms or public platforms, feel free to contact any of us at the National Grange, on the National Officer Corps. The staff and the officers are here to help you. Thank you guys for joining us. We've had a lot of people in and out. We've had a steady stream of individuals, and so we really are excited to be able to bring you this content. And thank you, Chris, for being part of this series.
Actually, anytime. And yeah, thanks for everybody that were on. Thanks, Amanda, to you, especially for running all the technical side of it. I'm just sitting here looking awesome in my pink hair, I guess. So yeah, thank you very much to everybody that's out there. Go forth and do amazing things. And till we catch up in person, stay well, stay safe, and yeah, Godspeed. Thanks.
Absolutely. See you guys again tomorrow. We have our next one of these at 2 p.m., I believe. It should be myself and Lizzie Bailey from Pennsylvania talking about how to get publicity for your Grange, even during this COVID crisis. She had a fantastic article in our local paper just last week about how community is still needed in this time of social distancing, and I'm really excited to bring her on to talk a little bit about that. So we'll see you back here for these. We're doing one a day, pretty much every day, at least most days, until we are either done, we have run out of things to talk about, or we're out of our hibernation status. So join us again. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.